And what is up, my guys? It's Lindsay back again on the Talking Toku Live. Just want to say that at the last minute I decided to do Avatar: The Last Airbender into the stream. So after the stream, I will try and add timestamps so you know where that will be. But first off, we are talking about the Sentai that just ended. Even though Dawn of Fury started already, I have pushed that off. Some plans to do the first 8 episodes of Dino Fury and the first episodes of Zenkaiger. Once those are wrapped, there will be another Talking Toku Live, which, based off that, should be May 1st. It's already scheduled to happen. But before we get into the swing of things with that, it's because the big time exhibit at the Philadelphia Zoo is opening later on in March. I'll practically save that for an April trip along with Hershey Park. I'm tentatively planning trips to the American Dream Mall in Newark, northern Newark, near New York City, and possibly down to Six Flags America for a day. But the train doesn't quite support that. They're like doing a round trip thing. Maybe Friday night to Sunday morning type deal, like a camp, like my scout trips would work. But anyways, like when the last time I took live of talking about the mainstream stuff, that was before Shadon appeared, and that only lasted one episode. It's cool. Character Knight decided to expand his character in the adaptation, where he is like a teaser for Guards' actual final form of the series, not what I did with his Guards' counterpart, giving him Yodon's form, and plus the summer movie villain. And then I made Minjo another one of the Fears called Twin Fear, because she looks a lot like Serapis, who is in the Sentai is Minjo's sister, who is killed a long time ago, but her role is expanded along with moving Sanemaisaur to become Drokar, and he is supposedly Serapis' sister, but they're like Gildos and Bucci in Live Man, where they're creations of Moonsalt himself. Also, some of the 2 final monsters of the series involve powers from the final Kaname Stone. I never really cared about the Kaname Stones, because the first Kaname Stone is so important with reversing the spell on Silver early on when he goes evil. I turned that into the Polar Zord, which is Shovelo without this shovel part. And also, with the of the red Shovelo, I redesigned my idea for a repaint of the Kiramager called Dyron Megazord, where instead of keeping red, the fire truck red, I changed that to be one of the Hoarder motif and keep red Shovelo, called the Dredger Zord, which was originally the name I had for a different concept in the series, where it was going to be more like a mining type vehicle. But yeah, like the brain monster thing was kind of unique, remind me of how Rice Soldier worked, and since because it's a shorter series, and I was like, at 30 episodes instead of 44, I added episode 0 and the summer movie into context of things. And then I decided, later, kind of had a cool idea with the actual team up. So I have an alternate ending idea there. Technically, the idea actually came from a misstep from my poetry professor calling Black Mirror Dark Mirror. So they're going to do the Order of the Dark Mirror, which is kind of like equivalent to the Midnight Society from Are You Afraid of the Dark? And that's kind of where the whole thing spins off from, creating the shows and all that. Okay, that was actually a joke. I didn't mean to. Okay, yeah, that definitely wasn't funny, but all that is another Nickelodeon show, like Are You Afraid of the Dark? But yeah, come on. I agree. Come on, I think everybody can agree with you that Garza's final form, which I call Lunaku, which which only means moon, from Luna, coming from like Spanish and Portuguese. I believe it's also Portuguese is Luna, and Latin, I think, as well. And then I think the Ku part comes from Swedish or Danish, somewhere in Scandinavia. I was thinking like the finale here of Yodon's origins, that he's like a weird snake creature from like the dark realm and stuff. But I think that we kind of like see Karancho in a different perspective, which kind of like which allows him to reform and become quote unquote the new leader of Jotunheim, and they just we're gonna stop invading dimensions and all that. Now, so because of like how the schedule stuff is, looks like the team will be available in August to watch, and then the summer stuff just came out like 3 weeks ago or so. So the Kiramager and Saber movie talk is probably going to be in September, but I know there was a December movie for Saber, so maybe that will be out by May 1st. Kind of doubt it, but that would actually be, I think that actually would be my first Rider film, as I haven't seen the 01 films. Then again, 01 is very business centric, so I don't know on that. So any other final thoughts I can think of is that between the final like 10-ish episodes or so. Now again, the only monster I actually cut from was the mannequin episode, and then I added another monster from Rai Soldier. I renamed it Legend Fear. It says the theme, the Headless Horseman, and obviously they would call it Legend Fear because that's a roller coaster theme to the Headless Horseman, because it was created on accident. But yeah, moving on to Saber. Didn't really get a lot on here, but Primitive is kind of messed up, and I had weird idea like continuing like semi-connected universe going from my Rise Soldier adaptation, Chivalry Force, Kiramager adaptation, Shining Spirits, my original like deep sea exploration themed Sentai Shinkai Sentai Akuraija decided to give that an adaptation by reusing the pages from my old scouting themed one, W Scout Ranger, to create Power Rangers Operation Deep Sea, all because of Sarah, who is a part of Koza Studios, Upstop Media, and G-Force. She kind of grew up on the boardwalk. I kind of idea of maybe doing a series set like in South Jersey on like mainly focused on like the Wildwoods and Cape May, because there is like a military base there, so it makes sense to have some military style operations going on there. And I think that really started as like police stuff, but it's fan fiction. Like guy can dream, right? And then you continue with the writer stuff, where the ones that are like the teenagers are young adults right now, or now still kind of young parents. Their kids are like in the tween age. I want it to be later, but a lot of issues like timing and all. when our here's being college time, and yeah, all messed up stuff there. But Psycho and like his comic book thing, kind of interesting. Obviously, I think would be a little weird in an adaptation, but the idea to like version that Caliber became, what I call Polaris. I call Polaris form, because technically Yuri did technically have both originally in Saber, so it would make sense to kind of tweak that for a Western audience. But also, like in this rivalry arc, like you have a right kind of like poisoning the northern base's mind to serve her, but now we've got the elders be able to Slash and Buster have since swapped sides, and Kenzan, I think it's like he's uneasy. Maybe he'll try and play just to whoever he feels like playing ball with. But Rintaro still kind of treats the Sword of Lewis as family, and there's a group of people on Twitter who kind of make the idea that that Raika and Rintaro have a thing going on, and that's kind of why he doesn't want to make a move to Kuma's side. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff coming down the pipeline with Raika. I think it was revealed today that Kento is actually returning and serving the SOL, Southern Base, as Caliber. So yeah, time will tell on that. And I was really going to save Soul till next stream, but since I did watch it last week along with, but what I am pushing is Splash, because I haven't watched Little Mermaid, and that's this week's assignment. Probably going to watch it tomorrow morning. Continue with, trying to figure out what I want to do for a final writing project when it comes to Disney. I kind of want to do something with like diversity again. Like, probably not going to do a video on. I might bring it up next stream, just because I probably won't be getting anything outside other than possibly Saber's movie, other than the second half of this deconstructing Disney course, Dino Fury, Zenkaiger, and the current Toku. Might get to Denno, might say swap, I'm actually going to do core before Denno, but who knows on that? Wait, let me actually get the thing. Who knows on that, eh? Who knows on that? Who knows on that? Okay, end of tangent. So just because I originally was going to do The Last Airbender as a separate thing, it is not in the original script just for this stream. So we are going to skip to classic Disney for the time being. So the very first picture that he actually did was a hybrid film called Alice's Wonderland, which is like like a fairy tale world type thing with a little girl. I think they actually went through a couple different young child actors for that series, and you actually do see Walt on screen with that, working on his like animations and all. But then we have watch two, then she also has two Oswald clips, Trolley Trouble, and kind of hear that there's like no limit to animation. That's what I got out of it. Even though I think One Night had some questionable things, I do feel that Mickey definitely mistreated Minnie a lot more from what I saw out of the early animated stuff he was in. Compared to Oswald, I just call Oswald as the kind of naive, however you want to call it. But Plain Crazy was originally not done with sound, but they added a sound in later after they did Steamboat Willie when it was released in 1929. And then Steamboat Willie is the first like project released under the label, like Mickey's first actual appearance chronologically in theaters. It's actually is a play on a Buster Keaton film of the era. Actually, that whistle used in Steamboat Willie is still exists, and they used it for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. I'm sure I kind of help them know that by this point. But then after that, we got into the Silly Symphonies, Skeleton Dance, kind of experiment with the diegesis, which kind of like having music within the world of film is called diegetic. But like your background music would be non-diegetic. Like the fight footage, that would be non-diegetic. And then Flowers and Trees, this is one of the first color works. There were that Disney had, and the thing is that like Disney got had exclusive use of Technicolor because it didn't look very well in live action, and it was a lot more cumbersome to deal with. Because obviously with animation, at this time you'd have hand-drawn cells, and then you'd have the guys would actually do the sketches, and then the girls would ink out the outlines, paint them in, and then they would be sent over to Technicolor where they would just like snap picture of the frame and then move stuff around. They had like for the classic stuff they had a special jig where they could play with 3D elements. That's more like seen in the Old Mill and Alice in Wonderland. I'll go to the Old Mill. But it actually reminded me of Hatter's Place in the 2010 film. Really enjoy that one. Three Little Pigs. Maybe I saw it on House of Mouse back in the day when we had Toon Disney and Jetix, but yeah, it's a fun little day that goes with that. It actually became very symbolic of the period. Funny Little Bunnies. This begins their relationship with RKO, because like after like their video system, their sound system was kind of bootleg. So once they got out of that, they were with United Artists and Paramount for a hot minute. And then they moved on to RKO, which they kind of stayed with until RKO was going downhill when they established Buena Vista, which they still use today. I think I also saw like with Long Cruise Steamboat Willie, I think there is like another there is some medley of shorts out there on YouTube they can find. But like I said, like Minnie definitely suffered worse than Hortensia when it comes to mistreatment. Yes, I'm calling it out. Mickey is 100% a dick. Okay. Also, something I find interesting when we get to their first feature-length work, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, is that the order of Zodiac is wrong. Aries is after Pisces around the magic mirror and not at the start. We start with Taurus. Guess Logan Joyner should be happy about that. Also, kind of like aesthetics did remind me of Flowers and Trees here. And then also kind of feel like there is some maybe Pablo kind of doping at Charles being like symbolic and kind of being last. Maybe I'm going a little too deep on that. What do you guys think? Drop it in the comments down below. And I would say like all our human characters are important in this case, at least to an extent. Like if there's any background characters in Snow White, they are simply the animal friends of Snow White and possibly the prince. He really is kind of useless, except right now Trudeau first kiss. Also kind of interesting is like interesting film you probably never heard of is The Reluctant Dragon, which is almost kind of like a behind the scenes look at the studio at the time. Like when it was released, the company was on strike. So I know Defunct has a good video on that. So in this, kind of like in Alice in Wonderland, you have the first little bit is in black and white. Then obviously change the Technicolor when you get to the Technicolor room, and that stays in color through the end. Also, there are teasers for Dumbo and Bambi in this film because they're doing sketches with an elephant in one scene, and in another scene, they are working on the cells for Bambi. Kind of more like a sexist moment, but it is a good use of bringing significance to one of the ink containers in that sequence. So it's like, it's a like good example of media aesthetics. It's just maybe not, I would say maybe it's an objectively good example, but as subjectively not. I think that's how you would put that. And there did insert some shorts. There's actually there's a goofy short in there, and like with a horse singing that ends with like, I think the actual filming the actual titular film is only like 20 to 30 minutes at the end of the film, and there's like another scene or two at the end. Again, Walt appears in this film when they're coming to screening the film, and Mr. Benchley ends up getting a few mementos out of this experience. So when things look so nice and all that, a lot that some of the areas they shower are fake, like ink and paint is faked. I also mentioned like hand drawing and all that stuff. That's obviously true, but ink and paint itself, no. In the film, no. And then after Still in the Seven Dwarfs, we got into World War II proper again, because with the strike and all that, whole reputation was like destroyed. And Walt saying, I'm gonna get out of here and take a trip to South Africa with the boys, work on a film. And so Roy was left in charge, and with pretty much the fate of the company not looking good, he decided, we're gonna make some World War II propaganda. And in this case, Donald is the main voice because they didn't really want to hurt Mickey's identity. And in the clip where we see Minnie and Pluto, which is about about not wasting your grease. So yeah, he sees we're time for that Mickey is off fighting with our boys in Europe and the Pacific Theater. Also, something is that, from two different things. This is comparing the fierce face to the spirit of 43 is about taxes. Because Donald in the fierce face is manually making the bullet casings and stuff for the Nazis. But in Spirit of 43, it's very streamlined. It's not taxes, taxes, taxes. I think that's a good impression of that, right? And also, the Fierce Face also uses the caricatures of the Axis people. So that obviously more of a timely thing and would technically be more against Walt's values, but that was just of the time, and so maybe we can kind of get away with it in that way. That they thought I was right for the time, but obviously things change. Dire State Coasters, welcome to the stream. We'll be getting to Avatar: The Last Airbender in a little bit, but if you watch Blackish, you can drop some thoughts on that as well, because we're talking about Disneyland. and original pilot. So this was the first show that Disney worked with ABC with, and now, well, Disney owns ABC. Thanks, spoiler alert. But yeah, it was because of the Disneyland pilots, and they renamed Wonderful World of Color, and so on and so forth. As I go through kind of different cycling of episodes, where kind of like what Insane Kawase do for their patrons, and over on this Finland channel, which I'm a part of, we are trying to do that with our Grove show, where besides our news show, we've been trying debate night, game night, live cooking episodes. I think we decided not to cancel that one and maybe focus more on just doing Planet Coaster or more multiplayer stuff. When it comes to game night in the future, I actually kind of think our first cooking night went very well, where Josh and John competed to make thrill shakes, and I think John won that one. So yeah, if you want to, you can go click that. Should be a card up there if you're watching later, or I'll just drop in the description or comments of the stream when it is over. But yeah, like during this pilot scenes, they showed bullfighting, but it was in Portugal. And when I think of bullfighting, I think of Spain, wouldn't you? Yeah, space stuff kind of looks cool, and I still think we should watch more of those sequences today, even though it kind of doesn't really make much sense with how the land actually worked, where it was more like kind of like a World's Fair to start with, and nothing like how it looks, how any of them look today. But also, there was a clip from Song of the South, and I still have to watch it again later, so I might just keep those thoughts until the next stream. So kind of like the teacher chose this Blackish episode. It's also kind of a way of promoting the parks again. However, like even though there is a flashback sequence, Disneyland 83, this is promoting like the new hire cast members to, stuff. So our family is like decides to go on the trip to vacation, go on vacay. Obviously kind of sounds like, but like one thing is like, wouldn't the boss know he's going on vacay and can't force him to stay back? That I feel that's probably the biggest thing. I was like, what the fuck? And I was thinking, like, I did write down there. I did see thought there was like an error in the flashback. It did seem like it was like maybe some stuff was like too recent, and also they kind of, I don't know, it's like park hopping. Like there's like a humor where the mom and the grandparents are trying to get out of the park, but they end up like there's some in Animal Kingdom, but they end up in Magic Kingdom. Like you exited one park to get into another one. That you already exited a park. Your plot is flawed. Your whole plot of this is kind of flawed, but yeah, it's unreal to say, but but it's so funny. But as I did before getting on to Avatar: The Last Airbender, I have to talk about Soul, as I watched that recently, and so actually the entrance looked very real, hyper realistic. I did not expect that body swap sequence at all. I can remember from seeing one show where the cat ends up going on the stairway to heaven thing. Yeah, it kind of was funny, but I would say you give insight out to the kids, and then once you're like 16, maybe you may sit them down and watch Soul, because I think that's kind of where it's aimed as that you watch Inside Out like as you're going to the stage of puberty, and then like Soul you watch more like as an adult, because it is more complex of a concept. Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy it. I think Onward deserves probably the accolades more than Soul, but that is just my opinion. You have a right to disagree. This is a free country. I'll say, not really going like a deep thought onto Avatar. My idea is like more like analyzing some stuff that came to mind. Like, again, kind of like how I didn't expect the plot twist in Soul. I didn't expect like Blaze of Kyoshi at all. Never heard of them until I watched the show. Suki is an underrated character. Most thing is like, wait, Aang's been MIA for 100 years. That I also didn't know that at all, or like I didn't remember. I know I watched the Disney Brains videos on the Avatar, and think is still currently working on the core series. But also, like, since Fire Nation are kind of like the big evil at this point, and kind of worries about learning fire. That's kind of an interesting bit there. Jet, so what do you guys think? Do you think Jet is alive or is he dead? Comment that. Tell me in the comments below, okay? Let's see, like Siege of the North, that's cool. That's where we get My Girlfriend Became the Moon. UA, very cool. Before I talk about more about Zuko, like, I was in love with his character design the moment I first saw like the whole like mark there. Looked very cool. It's like book 2, definitely Toph is actually blind, and I thought she was showing up a lot earlier in book 2 because it is the book of Earth. But you know. Hey, she's still a cool character. She learned her bending from the Badger Moles, invents metal bending. But like, you know, like sand bending, metal bending, there are some questions that I have about that I haven't looked into detail on the wiki about like the origins of those and how they would work, and if that would mean that have some form of an equivalent when it comes to like training new airbenders. So like, you know, like hopefully trying to restore the cycle in time for when the next airbender would show up, because Korra is set like in equivalent like the 1920s. And so obviously the next airbender for that would be an earthbender in like nowish time. So if you know an answer, kind of like whole more like the sandbenders and metal bending and sort of how that would compare, you know, kind of like that more like sets up into how the airbending island works, then yeah, I drop that in the comments down below. And also, during book 2, Uncle Iroh, his voice actor died, which is kind of sad. There is a clear, distinct difference, at least to me, between the voice actors, and does kind of sound more like he's the new guy. Kind of sounds more like weaker than the original dude. But yeah, I really like actually kind of. I would kind of say I kind of feel a lot more about Zuko and Iroh more than the rest of the team. You know, that's just me. And also kind of is interesting looking at that like Roku is related to Zuko, and obviously, you know, having met with the wise monks, having met Gyatso at the time, back when they were growing up, and how he watched over Aang, which like friends lasting over generations, which kind of puts a new meaning to the word. And also, I kind of felt like May feel almost kind of just wants to marry Zuko, so she'll be queen. I'm not queen, so well, that's something I kind of felt like, or that she of all else just desires power. Kind of, the eclipse each fails, but I kind of like the. I also kind of enjoy Sokka's dad and his friend Bata. They're nice, wiser figures, and Sun Warriors. I think they seem to be like based off the Maya, and like the Fire Nation is Vikings. The monks are obviously the Hindus. Waterbenders are the Inuits. I guess the Earthbenders are like more mainland Europe or Asia, I'd say. And it kind of seems like Aang and the Waterbenders each get their separate adventure with Zuko once he joins the team. But it's kind of like a joke that Toph doesn't get her on an adventure with them. But definitely like Azula kind of gets crazy, and like how like her bending is messed up by that. I actually kind of got the inspiration to like use that in my Chivalry Force in my Kiramager adaptation. But our Green Ranger, it's kind of like, so Aelin is this goth girl who is studying history and wants to teach at some point. But when our heroes come in, red, blue, and pink, later gold, she views them as less than her trainer. Like, she's an upperclassman, they're freshmen in college. So she gets kind of so angry that she almost, her one grid gets very like messed up. They like say you could have shattered the morphing grid because of all this. Yeah, she's that mad at the rest of her team at this point. And there is apparently a bit of a rivalry between Toa and Ko earlier on. So there is some support to do that. It's kind of interesting, like how Zuko said, "I've always dreamed of conquering Ba Sing Se," but then he kind of puts it like, "I never thought I'd be liberating it." And since Aang doesn't really have strength or desire to take Ozai's life, he ends up able to learn that he can disarm Ozai, and he ends up getting imprisoned. And guys get their girls. I think Azula died in that Engekai battle, but things just look like she just got arrested to me. I don't know. Drop your thoughts in the comments below on that as well. So Zuko's father, I did read up that Iroh definitely briefly gets his chance to be king when Zuko goes and try and find his mom. And also there was a point when they were hiding in the Fire Nation where Sokka got a hawk, and they sent a letter to Toph's parents. Kind of wish we could hear more about what happened there. Maybe there is a side story to that. I just haven't read up on it. So if there is a side story to that, drop that in the comments below as well. I didn't change the banner, but again, right now I have preliminary ideas for the month of March to go up to the American Dream on a Friday and maybe do a weekend trip down to Six Flags America. And so April would be hopefully Hershey Park opening weekend, and the zoo, Philadelphia Zoo, for the dinosaur exhibit the weekend after that, but possibly might decide, do it back to back, hit up the zoo on a Friday, do Hershey on Saturday, keeping it cool like that. And then after that, May 1st, Talking Toku live again. First 8 of Dino Fury, dissecting all of that. First 8 of Zenkaiger, dissecting all of that. Saber continues. Go and talk about Splash, Little Mermaid. Full thoughts on Song of the South. There's a few more things I quite tuck. Things are kind of gray on there. Because, okay, so here's the full list. So, Dino Fury, first episode of that, would usually after episodes we go on hiatus for Dino Fury. Beast Mortal Season 2 is kind of an exception to that. Zenkaiger, first 8 episodes of that, because we'll get 3 episodes by May 1st. Disney After Disney was starting off with Splash, Toy Story 2, Mickey's Melodrama, and Song of the South, which we're doing a week on inclusivity. Frozen, watching the Once in a Time pilot, Curse of the Black Pearl. I think I've watched in full maybe once before, about 2/3. And then for Marvel and Star Wars Week, she still hasn't posted what the screenings are for that. Maybe there will be no screens at all when it comes to that, but maybe we have an option of the Marvel and Star Wars films we want to watch or episodes. I haven't watched I've only watched Doctor Strange for Marvel, but I've watched all of the 9 movies, all main 9 movies, and the 2 in Rogue One and Solo at least once at some point. It's been a while since I've seen the prequels and the original trilogy. So maybe I'll go and watch those, or maybe I'll start Mandalorian and WandaVision just because everybody's talking about those. But yeah, who knows on that? I do not need to do that thing again, okay? Without further ado, I'm Lindsay. Comment, like, subscribe. Show you all you're subscribed. I'm going to copy over what I said when it came to the Song of the South clip. Okay, if you want, I'll drop a tease of what I was gonna say about Song of the South. Is Eddie Murphy. That's all you're getting about Song of the South right now. Eddie Murphy. Okay, that's where we're cutting. Okay, comment, like, subscribe, subscribed, and I'll see you next time.